it's lens review time. We're talking about the new 56mm f1.4 Viltrox lens for Fujifilm. And if you're a Fuji shooter, you've probably seen a few reviews of this lens, but I'm gonna talk about it a little bit different. You see, because I am a Fujifilm videographer, and sometimes I take photos. And when I'm looking to buy a lens, I'm always looking at the video features first. Now, I hope you like that footage in the beginning. Normally when I shoot a video like that, I wouldn't just be using a single prime lens, but for the sake of science and YouTube video testing, I thought I would have a go at it. And I had a really great time shooting that video. Thank you to Spencer and Lucky Devil for letting me shoot that video of my son in your barbershop. So jumping right into it, just first impressions, I think it's a pretty well-built lens, mostly metal construction. And if you have any of the other Viltrox 1.4 primes, well, there's really not much of a difference. They're all built pretty solid, especially for the price of like $329. One thing that I noticed they did different on the 56 is on the 23 and 33, you're gonna notice they actually have gold writing here to tell you what kind of lens it is. And on the 56, they just went with, you know, something a little more simple. Other than that, the aperture ring feels the same as the other ones. It is declicked, so it is fairly smooth with a decent amount of friction. I will say I have been shooting though in the past and actually bump this aperture ring. In fact, I did a video about these lenses and kind of talk about how that was a problem, especially on the 33mm. I'll put a link below if you want to check out that video. But overall, it is a nice compact little prime lens that easily fits in your bag. It's not as small as the f2 Fuji primes, but you know, you're getting a little more depth of field, which I think is totally worth it. So what are you getting with this $329 lens? Well, it's a 56mm, which is about an 80-85 full frame equivalent. So it's a very nice telephoto prime lens. I think this is geared towards people who are wanting to do portrait shots and things of that nature. In the last couple weeks, I have found two really good usages for this lens. And the first one is when I'm trying to shoot highlight B-roll style footage like I did in that first video. This is a 56mm, which is about an 85 on a full frame. So if you're looking for that nice compressed and blurry background, this is gonna be a great lens for you. Shot most of that all in autofocus, and I did a really good job. Didn't really do a lot of hunting, kind of locked on, and I was really impressed with it. However, one downside is the minimum focal distance. I wish I could get closer to my subject than I could. It's not a macro lens. I believe the spec is you gotta be about 2 feet away, but I did find myself having to step back a little bit farther than I wanted to. But overall, really happy with this lens. I'm gonna continue to keep using it for that style of footage when I need that focal length. The second great usage I found for this lens is interview style or testimonial videos. You know, as a Fuji videographer, sometimes it's hard to get that really shallow depth of field. You know, we're stuck to using these Fuji f2.8 lenses, which are great, but sometimes I find myself wanting a little more blur. And I know with all the new videographers that are stepping into this space, sometimes we're all doing it. We're using a little too much blur. Okay, sometimes we need to back off, but for those interview style videos, it's really great for separating the subject. Now, typically for my second camera angle, I'm using this Fuji 50-140 f2.8 telephoto lens. Great lens, really sharp, and I'm usually having it between the 50 and 70mm focal range. So I thought, let's give this lens a try, and it did not disappoint. You can see the footage on the screen. I love the separation that it gave, the sharpness, the color, everything turned out exactly like I wanted it, folks. I was very happy. And that whole thing was not manual focus. That was autofocus. And going through and scrubbing the footage, I didn't find where it hunted once. So let's briefly talk about the autofocus. I did use autofocus on that introductory video at the barbershop that you saw. I also took the lens out with us to Disney World and did some shooting just to test the facial recognition as well as the autofocus in some other settings. And it is hard to do facial recognition when everybody's wearing a darn mask. I mean, am I right? But in my testing, even at the barbershop and at Disney, I did notice that this lens, typically when I'm using I'm gonna say pull focus, but really we're using autofocus, but you're switching from a closer subject to a farther away subject. I did notice it never really did it in a smooth focus transition. It usually did it in one or two steps of like focusing phases. So just be aware of that if that's something that you like to do often. I don't want to jinx it, but if it continues to perform at that level, you're getting a great lens for the price. And let's talk about that. It's only $329. And when you're looking at the other lenses in that space that Fuji's offering, the 56 1.2 and the new 50-1.4, the new 50mm f1.0, that lens is $1,500. In fact, I had it pre-ordered and I canceled my order after testing out this lens. I'm just gonna keep using this one for a while. And that's one of the things I wanted to mention. You know, lots of times when we're reviewing these lenses, the reviewers don't mention, are they gonna actually keep using the lens? And for me, yeah, I am. This lens is going in my bag. I'm not taking it out. I'll continue to use it mostly on these interview style videos as a second or third camera angle. So paired right next to this guy, which is a little over double the size, it's going to stay in my camera bag. And I will also keep using it for that B-roll style of footage. So if you're a videographer, is this lens for you? Well, I think you should give it a shot. I highly recommend it. It's a fun lens to shoot with. It actually takes some really good photos. I've been messing around with that as well. And overall, just for the price, I don't see where you can go wrong. If you have any questions about this lens, please let me know in the comments down below. That's why I'm making this video. That's why I have this channel. I want to talk and help answer the questions. I do know Viltrox has done a surprisingly good job of listening to their customers. They make it so easy to update the lens. We got a little micro USB port in the back and you download the file, drag and drop, and your lens is updated. So simple. But overall, I think this is a great lens that you should consider in your video camera bag. With all the videos you could be watching on the internet right now, the fact that you took time out of your day to watch this one, I greatly appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, please click that button down below. I would greatly appreciate it. Have a great holiday season. And if you have any questions about this lens, please let me know in the comments below. See you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Peace.